Hello, everyone. Good to be back in your, I guess, just have you listening and learning a little bit more. Try to keep them short, sweet, to the point. I want to remind you of your Zoom call on Thursday at 11 o'clock. At that time, we will wrap up what we have for the open vote up to, um, I believe it's page 466. Now, I just want to give a couple of requirements for the Zoom call. Sorry I have to do it this way, but it must be done. When you call in on the Zoom call, you must use your name. Now, if I call, like if you use abbreviations for your name, which I don't think anybody in this class does, you need to use your name, first and last name, or first initial and your last name. If you use a different name other than your name, you will not be allowed on the call. And also, I should have reminded the other class, but I didn't. I forgot that. On this call, you are the only ones permitted on the call. No one else. This is for your class and your class only. Okay? The video won't be long. I mean, the call will not be long. It is just going to be, like a video, but maybe a little bit longer. And then I'll give you some time to talk with each other and just kind of see how everybody's doing. All right? So that is the end of that. Now we're going to start with the open vote part 2. Excuse me. Now, in the open vote, they use the word probably. And probably is really rather ironic because the men in the boat have no inclination or time to appreciate the beauty of the scene that's all around them, with all the beautiful colors that we read about in Crane's writing. The cook points out that the wind is pushing them to the shore. The captain points out that they're not out of danger yet. The seagulls flying about the boat, one tries to land on the captain's head, and the men worry that it's a bad omen because more are at home at the sea than the men are. The taking turns in the boat is very tricky because it's such a small, unstable boat. Now, the men see the lighthouse, but it's very far away. One of the men asks the captain if he thinks that they'll survive. The captain replies, "They will if the wind holds and the boat doesn't sink." He doesn't sound very optimistic, though. And that basically summarizes part 2. Now, part 3. The narrator describes the subtle brotherhood that has developed between the men, making them, as he calls, iron bound. Okay? Surprisingly, the feeling of companionship feels actually awesome to the narrator. Surprisingly, because in his line of work, he's very skeptical. So he's never really been very close and trusting of other men. Even though they're all stranded in the sea, the correspondent thinks this is the best experience of his whole life. And again, because he was so skeptical, taught to be skeptical toward men, he's actually starting to think that maybe that idea is actually wrong and incorrect. The captain suggests to use his overcoat as a sail, and it works. At the top of each wave, the group can see the land. The wind dies down and the overcoat does stop working. Now, how he got the sail to work was he found a stick in one of the waves that came through in the ocean. So he got the stick and tied his overcoat around it. But now the wind has stopped. So the overcoat is no longer working. None of the men have actually slept in 2 days, and they haven't really eaten either. The captain reminds the rowers to conserve their strength in case they get tossed from the boat and have to actually swim to land. They're not going to have the energy if they don't conserve their energy. The oiler, quietly reminds the men that there were other lifeboats that had escaped from the sinking ship. If any of them had made it to shore, there would now be a search and rescue team looking for them. So he figures that none made it. The correspondent reaches into his pocket and finds 8 cigars, 4 of them soaking wet and 4 completely dry. Someone else finds 3 dry matches. They say, "A miracle!" The men celebrated their imminent rescue by smoking their cigars and taking 1 big drink of water each. And I'm going to close it for right there, and we'll start on part 4 a little bit later. Okie doke. Have a great night. Stay well.